Right, now I'm going to show you how to add images. So you simply go to File and then Place. You don't go to Open because Open will simply open the image file in a new Photoshop document, but we want everything on this canvas, so you have to click Place. Okay, so you're going to need images that are decent in quality and they are related to what the actual work is or what the text is. So for the first one, I'm just going to go ahead and click Maths because I'm just going to put a collection of images underneath each image of the button, sorry, not each image, and it's pretty big as you can see when it arrives, so I need to downsize it. So naturally the first thing that you would probably do is click the corner and then start doing this, and as you can see, well, that's too flat and that's too tall, and sometimes you might forget what the original proportions were. So I'm just going to Control Z and start again with the resizing. You should hold down Shift on your keyboard and then click and drag. Now as you can see the difference, even if I try to go down or across, I can't actually distort the proportions. So make sure you do that when it comes to adding images, so it just keeps the proportions of the picture as they were originally intended, and so your picture doesn't look off. Okay, I'm happy with that size. I'm going to click tick and I'm just going to move it. So you've got to make sure you've got your move tool accessed, and I'm just going to click it and place it up here. If you want to do your left, right, up, down with your arrows, oopsie, then you can do that as well, but I'm just going to leave it as that. Okay, right, then you simply go ahead and add your other images. So when you're adding images, remember File, Place, and what you're adding. These were previously found online and I just downloaded them beforehand, so you might want to do that if you're not going to use these images. Just make sure that they are clear images, they're not you know, pixelated, even if you are upsizing to only this size. You know, sometimes if they're very tiny to begin with, they can become quite blurry, so just make sure your images are clear. I'm just going to go ahead and place that kind of here in the middle, so just use your eyes, you know, get used to your eyes having to do the work rather than getting a ruler out, to place it kind of in line with the other images, and then just carry on doing that. If you feel like, no, I want to make that smaller, and I press commit, remember how you access the transform tools. You can either go to edit and then free transform to get these tools up again, so these lines and these boxes. And then you can go ahead and downsize a bit more. If you want to zoom in as you're doing this, go ahead, Control plus. You should get used to these tools and remember the shortcuts and everything. There you go, that's alright, and we're just going to leave it like that. If you want to move it across, remember again, make sure your move tool is activated, and you can just use your arrows if you really want. Here you go, I'm happy with that. Okay, so carry on doing that, adding your images. You don't just have to add images just underneath your just underneath your buttons. You can add them elsewhere on your actual page the more you create it. So that's my science page. You can also take note of these measurements as you're upsizing and downsizing, so you can see the width in centimeters and the height in centimeters that's coming up, so you can take note of that if you want to be very pedantic about this and make it exact. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave that there. I have actually written ICT here and I can see I've not actually got an image, so just make sure you have the images ready for you to put in. I know it's got nothing to do with ICTs, but I'm just going to put history in for now, and I'll make sure I've got a proper picture for ICT after. So I'm just going to go ahead and downsize. That's obviously, actually this is a good example of getting a very large image and downsizing it to a point where you don't actually recognize what's on it. So just make sure the images that you choose are clear and simple and not very detailed, so that when you are downsizing them, you can actually make out what they are. Okay, so that's fine, right? So that's how you add images. If you want to, for whatever reason, change the see-throughness of any of these images, so for example this one, the maths one, so let me select it, here you go. If you want to make it a bit less you know, visible, then you can just simply take this slider down. So you can do that. So sometimes that's very good for putting something behind something else, you know, so you can play around with that. So I'm just going to leave it as, you know, maybe 72% opacity, just so it's kind of in line with the rest of these, because they're not very strong. Was actually quite a strong picture compared to the rest. So there you go. I'm just going to leave it like that. That's fine. You should now carry on developing your e-portfolio by having your sections now for each actual subject. I'll show that in another video.